Hey everybody, morning. So we got Mark, Rob, Dan, channel members Don, Hugh, Donald, Craig, Diane, General Rush, good to see you, sir. Will, Captain Slidge, Joseph, Mad, Jason, Cliff, Ted, Surge, Darren, Barbara, Gayton, Kevin, David, Skaggs, good to see everybody. And all the channel subscribers, good to see you too. And welcome to the show. Man, oh man, look at this right here. Look at that. Look at that. Can't even, dang. Dang. Beautiful. So what's the excuse, right? Like, what? Why? Why so high? Why did we pop on my liquidity indicator? Well, let's kind of break it down a little bit. Japan, well, they elected a new ultra conservative, uber conservative, extremely conservative prime minister, and Japan's first lady prime minister also. Almost nobody expected that to happen. But I didn't even I was not predicting. I didn't even know they were electing a new prime minister, so I had no I can't say if I was predicting, wasn't predicting. I didn't even know we were doing an election on that. This is back to what makes the doors fly off? What makes the price go to the target? I had the target since last summer. So, welcome to the show. I love a good surprise as much as anybody. I mean, I like finding $20 bills in an old coat. I like finding $20 bills in a pair of pants I haven't worn in a while. I mean, who doesn't, right? I mean, don't you love it when your fast food order is correct too? In the financial world, well, we got a surprise of a different magnitude right here with this Japanese move. Over the weekend, while most of us were trying to, maybe figure out weekend plans, maybe just, wishing we didn't hurt as much when we get out of bed, Japan decided to casually elect the first female prime minister, and she is ultra conservative. Let me tell you, this just isn't any just any politician here. Forget everything you think you knew about Japanese politics. Maybe you knew virtually nothing. The quiet, consensus-driven, frankly boring stuff. The new leader of the world's fourth largest economy is a lady named, I'm going to butcher this, Sanai Takachachi, and she's different. How different? Well, her nickname is the Iron Maiden. Not just because she's a fan of the British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, the original Iron Lady. No. She's a literal fan of the heavy metal band Iron Maiden. She plays the drums to blow off steam. Her go-to song is Deep Purple's Burn. If you can imagine. So I want you to picture this for a minute. The leader of Japan, after a tense day of navigating geopolitical crises with China and the United States and all the other geopolitical players, Russia, goes home, fires up the electric drum kit, starts hammering out a drum solo. Can't make this stuff up, right? And honestly, it'd be one of the most exciting things to come out of Japanese politics in a long, long time. But here's the punchline. The markets, the so-called experts, the betting platforms, Kalshi, Polymarket, all dead wrong. They had her opponent, a moderate, a relatively inoffensive guy, pegged as the 80% favorite to win. 80%. It was a sure bet. Sure thing. Everybody knew it. The polls in Japan, same thing. And just like every other sure thing in the last decade, blew up spectacularly. It's a beautiful and profitable reminder that the herd is almost always wrong. At least it certainly can be. That's why I tend to look at the contrarian side of the herd consensus. What might happen when everybody else is looking one way, whenever all the Shiny object, shiny object. Pay attention over here. The real opportunity is usually right behind them, about to hit them in the back of the head with a folding chair. So, who is this drum playing, Thatcher admiring, hardline conservative? And more importantly, what does her victory really mean for all of our money in the global economy? In short, she's a protege of the late, great Shinzo Abe, the architect of Abenomics. And if you don't remember Abenomics, or you haven't heard of Abenomics, just think of it as a national economic policy based on the financial, I was going to say fiscal, financial equivalent of chugging 5 Red Bulls and then putting the gas pedal to the floor. We're talking about a massive government spending, telling the central bank to print money like our country's life depends on it. Takachi, trying to say that right. I'm sure I'm butchering it. Has basically said she's bringing it back. Abenomics 2.0. That's her motto. I'm not kidding. The goal is achieving economic growth in Japan, not just physical health. This is like your doctor saying the goal is to eat as much cake as you want. It's going to make you run faster. No need to worry about diabetes. And the market reaction so far, swift and brutal. First off, Japanese yen. It's in the toilet this morning. All-time low against the euro. And we can take a look at the USD JPY. It's spiking. It was spiking last night. Why? Because when you announce to the world that you're going to print a whole lot of more currency, well, the value tends to go in the toilet. It's a basic supply and demand. For investors, signal's clear. Shorting the yen has suddenly become very, very, very popular trade. But there's another side of this coin. As the yen gets weaker, Japanese products get cheaper for the rest of the world to buy. And that's fantastic news for Japan's biggest companies. The result, the Nikkie, Japan's main stock index, just exploded past 48,000 for the first time in history. It's like nearly a 5% jump right there. So while the currency is getting pretty much hammered, the stock market having a party, baby. Yen carry trade back on the table. But here's the real story. The one that the mainstream probably won't talk about it. So we can call this the Takachi trade. Takachi trade. I don't know how to say her name. I'm sorry. See, it's not just pro-stimulus. She's hardcore China hawk. She thinks Japan needs to get serious about its military spending, and defending against the not so far away potential enemy. And when the leader says they're going to spend more on defense, well, you listen. Shares of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, one of Japan's biggest defense contractors, jumped 13% on this news. 13% in one day. There's entire ETFs like the Global X Defense Tech ETF that are suddenly looking potentially interesting here. It's a bit cynical for sure, but investing in geopolitical tension is, unfortunately, historically very profitable. So what's the catch here? The catch is that Japan is already one of the most indebted nations on earth. Takachi's plan to pour gasoline on this fire and make the economic engine roar. It might work for a while, but there's dangers. Stocks could keep climbing, and the weak yen could boost exports. But eventually, somebody has to pay the bills. The bond market is already getting nervous. When you look at long-term bond yields, they're spiking in Japan. That's the market's way of saying, we're not so sure that you're going to pay the bill later. For now, the party's on. Japan's back in the headlines, led by a heavy metal drummer with a plan to print and spend. The opportunities potentially clear here. Yen is going to be weak as they print more yen. a strong stock market, and a booming defense sector, but don't get mesmerized by the drum solo. High stakes gamble here to try to put Japan on the fast track to growth. Enjoy the music, but keep an eye on the exits. Because if we overheat this baby, a crash could be coming. When the song ends, you don't want to be left without a chair. And stay sharp, everybody. We're gonna talk about the charts and how we might actually make money today. Thanks for coming. Love to see everybody in the chat. And WWE style, yeah. So anyway, back to it. All trading involves a substantial risk of loss, in case you didn't know, and past performance not necessarily indicative of future results. I make some predictions, like the Nikkie going to 48,000. Sometimes I get lucky on this stuff, and this presentation is intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instruments. If you desire that, personal financial advice stuff, you want somebody to tell you what buttons to hit. In fact, Friday, somebody was asking, I kind of casually skipped over it on Friday. Somebody in the chat was asking me, I have XYZ spread. What should I do? That's financial advice. I can't. It's not what I do. All right. Hire and consult a financial advisor. All right. That's my best advice for you. If you don't know what to do with a spread or don't know what to do with a trade, probably close it. Be the best bet. Move on. Do something different. So be careful out there. Government's still shut down. Guess we're in day number, whatever it is, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess day number 6 here. I don't think anybody's serious about getting it back open, honestly. We got Jerome Powell speaking this week. Got Fed meeting minutes. That'll probably all come out, because the Fed is not, like, technically Fed is independent of the government. It's not like a branch, or not like a department. It's like a really weird thing. So Fed's supposedly independent, and they make their money off of the overnight lending and stuff. So I don't know. Guess Fed will continue on. CME predicting 80% chance that we cut rates at the end of the month. And we got Powell speaking on Thursday there. Right there. We'll see if if the government stays shut down, these unemployment claims and stuff probably not going to come out. And I mean, the BLS has basically said all numbers are on hold until they open that baby back up. Now, University of Michigan's still open, so we'll get those numbers on Friday, like consumer sentiment and inflation expectations, but they've been dead wrong for a while. I mean, this is not the way the CPI or PCE have been running. It's been down here, not up here. But I don't know. Whatever. The numbers are all made up, right? We'll see if they matter. So, gold making a nice run today. It's all in the back of Japan. That's pretty much what's going on. That's gold, all of it. Everything running. Like, this is global liquidity. Global liquidity just took a major, 5% jump. It's gonna push everything. Like, this is the blow off top. All right. This is the blow off top scenario I've been talking about. Right here. We're starting it. We are starting the blow off top. Now, how high can it go? Ridiculous levels. This is probably the start. All right. Where do we go from here? Good question. How high do we go? So we're at the bottom of the target, 48,000. I've mentioned that we could come on up here, 53, 54, maybe even all the way up to almost 60,000 on the Nikkie, NKD, Japanese stock market. That would be freaking crazy, but freaking crazy can happen. I didn't know what was going to make us pop. Like, it didn't look very likely to do that. That's another 23% higher. Imagine if everything kind of ran another 20 to 30% higher. That put Bitcoin at the target. Sounds pretty good to me. And Bitcoin setting an all-time high this weekend. I'll take it. Looking for this to come on up, potentially retrace from that resistance, and then maybe go for the final run. So this, is this what the Nikke's going to do? Are we going to do this on all risk-on assets? Could be what the S&P 500 does. Gold making a nice little pop. Next resistance coming up here, around 4,000, which is not far away. Another $100 higher with this change. And then we've got Confluence up there at 41, almost 4,200. So rock and roll. Be careful. Ethereum. Trying to confirm. We're going to break out right here. Let's go. Got to get through the resistance. I'm long Bitcoin, long Ethereum, long all sorts of stuff. Looking at ES on the lower time frames. So that was a pretty violent pullback right there on Friday. I'd say put an alert right here. If we get below that low, if price goes back below that low, that right there could be the top. Just that's for today, like till we go higher again. Then we'll see what happens. But right now, that's an important level. At low on Friday. Yeah, that's only a 3-wave up so far. To a 618 retrace. This is why that low is important. If we start down, that's a potential 1, 2. And if we take this down to a 3, 4, 5, and then only do a 3-wave corrective back up, this could be the start of something bigger to the downside on the S&P. So getting real with you, getting real quick. Despite global liquidity looking like we could take this thing to the moon, reality check. Reality check, reality check. We're sitting there at the 686. That comes all the way back to this pullback. Back here. Anybody remember what happened there? And what happened here? That's one big correction. This level we're at is the 686 extension of this last 14-year correction. That was 14 years before we got going over here. So be careful, everybody. We're at an important juncture in the market here. Can we push it on higher? Sure, we can keep being ridiculous. We can do the blow off top. Things are getting spicy. Opens up large correction potential. I'm not going all in short. Just warning, there's things cooking here. Things are cooking. Now, as I mentioned last week, NASDAQ had set up somewhat of a bullish thing. Probably going to go on up. There was the first move, the retrace, the push up, the retrace. Probably going on up here. Probably going to get to that 25.5. Maybe even take us on up to 26,000 right here. You may be like, well, how do I even trade this? Just divide these numbers by 41, and that basically gives you the QQQ price. If you had bought here, when I said the QQQ was going higher, Probably doing pretty good. You're probably pretty happy. Talked about, I think it was, what was it, 616? Still got a little ways to go. Still got a little ways to go. Probably going to pop on up in there. It's looking pretty good. We had this move right here. That move up, that retrace, this extension, put us right up in here. Time frame? I don't know. Time's the hardest part of this. We could chop sideways for a little bit, burn off options. Russell. Pushing on out, 2,500. Probably going to tag 2,600 before this is all done. It's the expansion here. I just kind of expect this thing to come up in this 2,600 range. I've talked about that for a while. That once we got up through this stuff here, we were setting the stage to go higher. IWM 25, 255, possibly 264 on the upside there. Once we got above, it was kind of confirmed. This kind of set the stage for it. Once we got above that, it was confirmation. There we go. Coming on up. 255 first target, and then 264 above that. And we could, based on the way this has been kind of violently ping-ponging, we could see it do this to get up there. Now, once we get up here, could be done. So, another one I'm watching. Coming up into the RSP target. 193, 198 above that. That could also mark the top. This is equal weighted S&P 500. Oil. I expect this thing to flush, baby. Watch out for that. Down in the low 50s. And if we do that, probably a hot war. Somewhere, somebody's going to shoot some rockets in the Middle East, more than likely, and then bring oil back up in the 70s. So if we get down in here, might be a good time to buy some UCO or calls on USO. Out for a little ways. GC, look at her go. And the next big major resistance probably up here around 4150 to 4200. But this can fail to get there and come back down pretty violently. Retest that breakout, even retest the roadmap line down here. Be careful. Things that are going exponential come to an end. Bitcoin. So interesting development in Bitcoin. I don't even know how to. They're one of the basic financial people that I read reports from. No name place, but they tend to be pretty accurate. 30 to 40 countries are seriously considering starting a Bitcoin treasury, or, however you want to call it for a country, in a big way, as in putting potentially billions of dollars of their country's money into Bitcoin as a strategic reserve, treasury, strategic reserve, however you want to call it. 30 to 40 countries, large countries, that could push this thing up into the targets, especially with the combined global liquidity. But keep in mind, at what price are people who've been holding for a long time going to want to cash out? Diamond hands forever, but at some point, you just want to lead a good life, right? So 72% of the Bitcoin is held in private wallets. 72%. That's a lot of people that can just decide they've had enough of the upside and start selling. Liquidity in the Bitcoin market has a drastic effect, so be careful. Yeah, good. Glad you made some. Glad you made some scratch. All gold. So, dollar, just kind of hanging with the homies here. We got a little bit of pop on that Japanese stuff, but we're pulling it back down a little bit. Remember, if we break up, probably going on up into the possible 100 area where the roadmap line is sitting. And now it's now that the market's open, everybody's kind of grinding on TradingView. My indicator is going to lag. There it is. There it is, right up there around 100. So even though we got that overlap, not the best start to a bullish move, but we could take it on up here again. See what happens on that one. And then USD, JPY. Look at that. Look at that sucker go. Whew. Now, see, I don't know the JPY Euro. That's not the right one. It must be Euro JPY. There we go. So this made an all-time high against the euro. So US dollars are kind of not performing the best. But against the euro, this is breaking out, baby. That's potentially working on 5 up. And that could be the 5 up of the 5th wave move. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. So this has probably got a ways to go, actually. And we're probably coming up at least 197 up here. Time frame, like that's going all the way back to 2010. And we're coming up into the zone where we potentially play this move out and then do a protracted wave 4, and then we'll probably push that on up there, and then do a protracted wave 4, and then push it on up even higher. Yeah, crazy stuff. Looking at Euro, USD. Zoom up. And this not really going anywhere with the dollar. And just kind of in the middle, it's just kind of like the dollar yen, Euro, USD, just kind of hanging. So is this a correction? We're kind of, what's interesting here is that this looks like it's kind of a correction, right? That move up, that retrace, that move up. We're kind of in corrective territory. If this is going to be bullish, we need to be up here. But right now we're kind of stalling out right here, which can be corrective and lead to the euro dropping back below $1. I know most of you aren't currency traders, so let's jump into stuff that actually matters for us here in the U.S. markets. Interesting. We're still not able to break higher on Apple here. Did have a little gap down right there, and we're just grinding that area a lot. This could take a trip back down to the roadmap line and then something deeper if we don't hold the roadmap line. Caution. If we push below the roadmap line, start getting price action down here, this can take a trip down pretty severely. Crypto.com announced that they partnered with Amazon. This is kind of interesting. I in the background saw a big thing out this morning that It's not Amazon like the web store part. It's Amazon Web Services in the background. They're partnering with the web services part of Amazon to enable Crow payments and tokenization. And at the same time, crypto.com got all of their CFTC approvals, like the full suite, to be a futures broker dealer, basically, or futures dealer. So that should be interesting. A futures clearinghouse, futures, all the futures things that CFTC approves. And CDC also partnered with DJT. So there's some interesting happenings on the background with partners. This crypto.com doing a bunch of positioning themselves differently than like Coinbase is. So Google kind of grinding up in here. Potential to push that on up to 263. Right now we came up short just like we did on Microsoft. So just got an eye. Like we could push on up to that 263 or we could come back down and retest the breakout. Meta, I warned. Now we're down to the roadmap line. If we start down below that, coming down deeper. And kind of warned once we made the lower high. I've been warning we're probably taking a trip to the roadmap line. Here we are. If we get below that, watch out. If you have no idea what this orange line is, if you're brand new here, you're like, what the devil is that? So you can go click on the channel logo, go to the homepage, watch the video. I'll give you the code for free. Or if you like code JT, man, code that's I can't spell my own name, let alone put some code in. That's okay. Down in the description for $5, I have an easy button. You just click the button and put it on your chart. You don't have to worry about code or anything like that. But what are you doing if you can't spell your name, man? Probably shouldn't be trading. Just saying. Microsoft came up shy of that 1618 extension. Now we've got resistance hanging out right here. If we can get through it, upside. But if we bounce off of it, watch out. NVIDIA, struggling here. We may see another retrace. We got to the 1272, the 190. If we can break on through, that 212 is still hanging out up there. Tesla, looks like we potentially overdid the pullback on Friday. Popping back up. And we still got the upside target around 500. And this was a rejection area right here. Got the close up there, and then we promptly rejected it the next day. So this is a danger zone we're going to have to clear. And this pullback may be getting up some energy to bust through. Upside target around 550. 550 and 600 above that. So we may jump up here, retrace, and then go on up. Wouldn't surprise me to get up to, golly, a little gravel. Excuse me. Got some gravel there. Wouldn't surprise me to come on up to 800 in the next few months. They put out some cryptic stuff over the weekend. Is it a computer fan? Is it a quadcopter? Is it the rumors are bound. Tweeted a picture. It looks like a GPU fan to me, but a lot of people speculating all sorts of stuff. It showed this fan, showed it spinning up, and then it cut to tomorrow, 10/7 as the date. So we'll see what happens. See what happens tomorrow. So Netflix down to the roadmap line. If we push this any lower, we could come on down here, make the proportions A equals C. That would get down to that level right there, around 1067. AMD, the big winner today, but not breaking out higher. Be careful. OpenAI releasing that they're taking a 10% stake in AMD. Going to build some of their data centers powered by AMD processors with NVIDIA GPUs. Should be some interesting stuff. And the news in here. OpenAI, AMD announced massive computing deal, marking a new phase of AI boom. Committed to purchase 6 gigawatt. What does that even mean? How do you measure chips in gigawatts? What? It's not a... Chips aren't measured in gigawatts. Just... Whoever wrote that. What the... It must be some AI garbage. Anyway. MI 450 chips. Gonna buy them next year. We'll see what happens. AMD surging 35%. This reminds me of the Oracle move. Crazy stuff. AMD's got a pretty good debt load too. And pulling it down a little bit, but they need to get this back under control. You need your debt down here, not up here at their income level. So AI hype continues until it doesn't. Other stuff popping. SANM. And another crazy one right there. A-Lab. Also kind of popping, but this is caution here. So this right here, that high, that low, this 618 can be an A, a B, even we come up a little higher even, and C can take it down to the roadmap line pretty easily here. Be cautious. Got some leverage stuff, ASMO. Into the target zone. If we can push this on up to 1100, we can continue the bull train higher. AVAV, yeah, being ridiculous. Potentially going to pop on up to 500 area. ISRG, still looking for the bottom. I think this needs to go lower low than that level right over there. Then we need a dip, lower low, and then we can set the stage for going higher. Forming a reversal on ISRG. CMA, nice little pop there, but still in this funky zone. Funky down. That's a big range of sideways, but look how long it's been chopping in this range. For most of my adult life, pretty much all my adult life, I don't think it's going anywhere. MSTR, popping on Bitcoin. Big resistance up here at 400. If we can get through 400, probably take this to a new high up here in the 600 area. Then if we can hold the breakout to new all-time high, possibly set the stage for 1,000, but right now I'll be careful. STRC did tag 100 last week and probably retraced. This is interesting. You ought to ask AI to explain it to you. It's like a stable coin based on their preferred shares. They're increasing the dividend until they can get the price to 100. As long as price isn't at 100, they're going to keep raising the dividend to pull more money in. When it gets to 100, anytime it goes over 100, they will cut the dividend. Anytime it dips below 100, they'll raise the dividend. Kind of keep it like a stable coin that pays a dividend. So it's an interesting concept. Right now, the dividend, 85 cents a share. Multiply that out. Not bad. I have a report on it if anybody wants me to drop it. I can drop it in Discord for Termite Trading members. MU, well, there's 200. Time to book that one. Can we go higher? Sure. MUU. I'm probably getting off of this today. There's the target. Another one. Sometimes I get lucky. Dang. Been on this one since back here. Anybody that got this a piece of this one, congratulations. Like, I know a lot of doubters. A lot of people give me crap right there. Guess what? Boom. Now, you're only as good as the next one, so let's find the next one. Let's find the next one. Yeah, Grano, you still don't measure chips in mega or gigawatts, megawatts. Like, that's a range, power draw range. Like, that's, you don't measure chips in power. Like, that's just not the way you buy chips. Usually it's about floating operations a second. Flops. MIPS, million instructions per second. That's how you measure chips. I have a whole top 500. Yeah, this is the wrong place to ask for a report. I can't drop anything here. And coin. Confirming we're probably going to pop this up to 474, possibly 500 right there. Termite Trading Lab chat. That's one. CEG was popping. Now we're trying to drop. GEV down to the roadmap line is where I would guess. First move down, retrace, next move down. SMH. Popping on the AMD deal, I'm sure. 387 next upside. VRT. Interesting. SMH. Vanek. Rocking and rolling. SOXX. Kind of lagging behind. SOXL. The leverage. Really lagging behind. Look at that. This shows you how devastating the pullback was for this leverage. Right there. We're just not even coming back up. 90, like if we were up here where, you know, new all-time highs like SMH and SOXX, you'd be up here at 94, but or even higher, but we're not. Very devastating to that triple leverage ETF. And let's see, JBL. Probably come back to the roadmap line. Dell has opportunity to pop out here. Still these bigger upside targets, 233, 337. It's interesting, nobody's really partnering with Dell at all. Nobody's really announcing partnerships with SMCI either. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Watch out. STX keeps rocking. Western Digital keeps rocking. Both of those making amazing pops. A lot of data got to get stored with AI boom. Those are some like kind of some sleeper trades in the AI boom. I mean, look at that thing go. Is it going to pull back? Probably. Toyota still sucking her up. Let's see what else we got in here that might be interesting. Kratos. That's going, okay. People talk about exponential. This is going exponential. the vertical climb. Watch for the Challenger explosion and coming back to Earth. Eventually, that's going to play out. Southern Copper. This thing's probably going to rock since FCX had that pretty catastrophic mining failure in Malaysia. This Southern Copper could get market share. That's probably going on out to 139, 149, possibly even 182. AIP. And be careful. That's I'm not a fan of that chart. GER. So we're setting the stage to ramp up to 193, 194. Leverage. Dog. Got to break out of the downtrend. So we've got this downtrend of highs. We've been cooking for a while. If we can break out, there's the upside. Golly, so many leverage tickers showing up these days. GFS, Global Foundries, downtrend of highs. Be careful. WPay, CCJ. Probably need, we're coming up into that resistance at 89. This might need to take a visit back down to the roadmap line. Marvell. So this could still be a B wave. We're just now kind of grinding through the gap down over here from back in March. It's kind of corrective in nature. Watch for a pullback. If we can hold this low at 62, that would set us up to potentially rally on up to 46 here, 146. If we don't hold that low, probably going to push it down here to 43. And that is a huge range. That's like over a 50% downside versus almost a 50% upside. So 50-50 coin flip there. That thing is rocking and rolling. Might see this pop. Things that were declining. Leverage. I guess Intuit getting whacked. And that may come down back to 600. This one probably needs to come back to the roadmap line or retest the breakout at least back here, fill the gap, whatever you want to, however you want to call it. Come back down in here. We may take a prolonged trip till all these things kind of come together here out in November, maybe. Prolonged rest. Shake Shack getting hit pretty hard. Abercrombie Fitch. Oh, look at that. Rejection of the roadmap line. I don't remember what guru told me they were bullish on that. I told them to be careful. We get through that 618 zone right there. This is like we need to hold that low right there. If we don't hold that low, this is probably where we're coming. That's a 3-wave up. Didn't even get to the typical A equals C right there. That was A, that was B, and there's the C just making a barely higher high, and continuation lower. More than likely, we're going to make a low lower than 65. Look at this one. This one's setting it up. So watch out for here. This could take this right down in here. If we do this and turn back higher, back above that high. Little pop last week. This sets Nike up for a big upside. Got my eye on this right here. Another one, gap. right here. Move up, retrace, 618. I really, really, really like this potential. Just thinking pop in a big way. Could take gap up here to 32. And we do have that resistance we got to get through. And move up, retrace, move up, retrace. Beautiful potential. I might buy some shares of that and sell some covered calls. We'll see what happens. All right, we have some setups today. Things doing my signature roadmap balance pattern. Let's take a look. AIG, insurance. Here's the high, here's the low. Broke through the 618, 85 on the upside. Let's turn in the statistics. And this is already in the trade from back here. So another bounce inside. This one can play out at 85. And then this one could ultimately fail. But this kind of demonstrates the average trade lasts 45 candles. But sometimes they just go into the sideways chop. And it can take 150 candles to play out. It's not, that gets you to the 99 percentile. 99% of moves will play out before 150 candles. But at the same time, 1% can last longer than that. But that's candles. And if you go to calendar days, it's, 210 calendar days because of weekends and holidays and all that junk. So you're looking at basically like 7 months. 7 months this can play on for the 99 percentile. So we'll look at that right there. There was the entry. Come over here. We still got some time before this might play out. And the 99 percentile should play out by early December. And that's for this move back here. That high, this low. Didn't stop out. Dollar below the low is the stop. 90 would be the upside target for this to play out. So you can get in now on that. You could get out at 85 or you could ride it up to 90. I would put my stop up here above my entry when we got there. Now, 50 trades, statistically significant, 74% win rate, right on pace with the average, and 1.2. This is just a good average stock. Like this is probably 74, 75% likely to get up there to the target. That's the 90 target because the entry was back here. Also likely to play this one out, 85. Boom. Next one, AMTX. No idea what these guys do. No idea anything about them. There's the entry. $3. Be careful. Low price stuff. No statistics. BG. Clean up the drawing. So this is already in it from back here, this swing. New swing that came up shy of the target. New potential entry, a little higher than the last one. 89.98 target. BTFX. There's the high. Here's the low. Entry. Target 71.86. No history on this one at all. It is a Bitcoin leverage ETF. Be careful on leverage. You can lose your money. CP. Here's the high, here's the low. Oh, it actually grabbed this one. There's the high, there's the low. 78 target. But I would be watching the bigger move for me. Hasn't fired off the entry for the bigger move in 85, but that took too long. So this one met the time requirement right here and why it fired off. EMR. There's a time component to this in the algorithm. Yeah, that one didn't go after the big one. It went after the small one right here. And we'll see if that plays out. 139 on the upside on that one. Yeah, look at this. 57 trades. 82. For a stock, you probably never talk about Emerson Electric. It trends. 82% of the time we hit the targets. Profit factor is kind of low, but still not bad. So this is likely to get continuation up to, historically, 82% of the time we trend higher once we fire off this pattern. Somebody was telling me context matters. I'm like, I don't think context matters. Not as much as somebody might think it does. They're like, well, when it does bounce under good conditions, it's different. If it does bounce under bad conditions, I was like, I don't think it matters. Price action is price action. Price action doesn't really know what's going on. The people participating, I guess, kind of do, but you know, I've got tons of instances of this working out just all the time. Good markets, bad markets. 581. These don't matter. MDXG. Got the high, we got the low. $8 on the upside. Statistics don't matter. PCH. 45. Now this one, wow, look at those statistics. Another one, 54 trades. Something I can't say I've ever looked at this before. Potlatch, Deltic, never even, no idea. Real estate investment trust, don't typically trend, but this one does, 74% of the time. Profit factor 1.05. So the dividend only paltry 4%, but it's not horrible. Not horrible. There's the target up here, 45. RNA. That one fired off last time. Pretty nice. Here's the high. Fast retrace. Here's firing off again. 53, 50 targets. You just run the fib high to low, below the roadmap line. Once we cross above the 618, it fires off the high probability pattern to get to the 1448, which is my own fib line that I've added, which is 90% to the 1.272. So multiply 1272 by 90, get the 1.1448. I've noticed there's a fuzzy zone where these things target. So 75% of the time we'll hit the 1448. 70% of the time, 75% of the time, 70% of the time. And then this one up here, it's crazy. We lose 50%. It drops down to 35% likely to hit that. So continuation is limited before we get another pullback. Rumpelstiltskin. Are you ready to rumble? Oh, I grabbed that high right there. Fired off with a 986. Yeah, I would not touch this. Not for me. WTM. No history of that one working out. No history here either, but well, I say that 30, and then it recycles, and 32, and the no history is, it's kind of a coin flip, and it's a net loser. So I wouldn't take this one, but there's your high, here's your low, here's your entry, and a ridiculous upside price targets. Take a lot of money to play in this game. Looking for a move up to like 1914. All right, for those of you still left with me, let's do the bias of the day. Bias for a day. So you got your alert. Down below the low on Friday. If we can get a 15-minute candle close up here, upside. High probability pattern, but it's going to be a lower time frame bounce because we didn't hit it's a 5-minute bounce. And we actually kicked that off already right there. So 75% likely we're going to get that continuation. Actually, 64% likely on here over the last year. Got an all-time history. Let's check this out. Bum, bum, bum. Well, that's not really a great all-time history. That's just the last 19 years. 60%. So this one, a little bit less likely to get continuation on the 5-minute chart. Tends to coin flip a little more, and the losses are bigger than the gains. So be careful on it. Be careful. But we've already set up that 67.56 upside potential. Now, I have something I've been working on for those of you who've been hanging out here. I'll show off something really quickly. Let's go through this. And on Friday, this one kicked off. This kind of thing gives you a credit spread automatically. It says, hey, sell that 670 put for October 6th, which is today. This was on Friday, on the 3rd. And I said, hey, buy that one right there. Get a net credit about 38 cents. Set up your close target for 19 cents. So credit trade, enter a debit for 19 cents. You're risking 62 cents a contract. If you want to risk $1,000, you need to do about 16 contracts. Give you a 30% upside potential. Now, I don't know about you, but look where SPY is this morning. Dun, 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 dun. Rocking and rolling. That's probably going to pay out in full. So, if you got interest in this right here, if you think that was cool, if you want something like this, they tend to win 90% of the time. That's the ridiculousness here. Go check out more information. We'll throw this in the chat for you. We're going to probably release this to the public. We've been working on this in the background with Termite Trading Lab members for this, like, July. Actually, I started working on it way before that, but I've had it kind of working since July in one form or another. It's gotten better and better, more refined. The alerts got cleaner. So if you got interest in that system, check it out right there. We're going to release it to the world next Sunday. So sign up for your seat. We'll talk about it more and more. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you later.